All right, good and wonderful afternoon, Oklahoma. Here to give you guys an update on this severe weather threat for tomorrow. So, all in all, looking at the overall risk line for tomorrow, which would be Wednesday, October 30th, if we can get this 4 p.m., a slight part of northeastern Oklahoma is in that enhanced risk for severe weather there, but the vast majority of the state is just in that slight risk. That slight risk goes down to about the DFW Metroplex area. The tornado probabilities are a lot stronger in these northern, around the Oklahoma-Kansas border right there, and even into central Kansas. I'll pull up a better outlook here in a minute, but even the central Kansas is a 10 hatched. The wind outlook, again, a lot stronger around that Oklahoma-Kansas border. Hail, this doesn't really seem to be much of a hail risk. It looks like we're going to be mainly looking at straight line winds and even some brief tornadoes to get your Wednesday evening rolling. So let's come back here. Maybe if it'll let us. So I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong model. So kind of what we're looking at and what we are watching for here is definitely looks like what we would call a QLCS event, kind of meaning here. So QLCS stands for a quasi-linear convective system, which I know sounds confusing, but pretty much what's going to happen is these models are not working out with me. I apologize. So pretty much what we're looking at here is they're going to kind of spark off and they'll go down the line from Texas down into Oklahoma and everything. But if we watch them, this looks, let's say the main risk area is going to be eastern Oklahoma along with northeastern Oklahoma. So definitely, if you're in the eastern and northeastern part of the state, I would say today's probably a good day to get those storm cellars cleaned out. Granted, the overall tornado threat is rather low, but it's still possible. And what we're looking at with these threats would be QLCS tornadoes. These are more of short-lived tornadoes. QLCS typically are less strong, but there have been times in the past where QLCS have been strong tornadoes. But most of the time, they're weak and they don't last for super long. But it's also Oklahoma, so anything's possible. And especially up along our border here, if some of these storms kind of get going without the main line, that's what you got to worry about is these storms that will isolate themselves either ahead of it or if any storms fire behind it. But what we're mainly looking for is for these storms that are going to be ahead of it. Because if these storms get isolated, they'll be tapped into a good enough environment to most likely take on a supercell. And those are typically, how we get tornadoes rolling most of the time, or like I said, with these QLCS systems, these just lines of storms that will go through. And granted, as much as we don't like to see severe weather, it's going to be bring some much needed rain. Now, if we're looking at what we call the sounding, so pretty much this is kind of telling us, what kind of severe weather we could expect. So kind of looking at everything, we can see this is all forecast. This could all change. We're looking at maybe some hail, that could get to 2 inches, potentially even up to 3-inch in diameter. All in all, this really looks to be more of a, like I said, kind of wind and hail event. But, we can see right over here. Let me just kind of here do this. If I pull out here and move forward, this line of storms is going to be a very long line, as we can see right, there. now pull this up. I just kind of give us some more in-depth look here so we can see the kind of the Wichita area and north there, and then north of Tulsa. We can see that enhanced risk for severe weather. And then if we go to our tornado probs, there's a 10 sig or 10 hatched for strong, potentially violent tornadoes. So your summary with all of this is strong to severe thunderstorms capable of producing large hail damaging winds, and a few tornadoes are expected on Wednesday across central portions of the country, particularly from the middle of the Missouri Valley southwards to North Texas. So far south into Oklahoma and Texas, storm development should occur later, likely not until after dark. Still with the thermodynamics and the sorry guys, these words can get a little hard. In the environment, favoring rotating storms, all the hazards and severe risks should expand southward across Oklahoma and into northern and possibly central Texas. With time, storms should grow, upscale and go linear across this region, as well as after the initial / primary cellular mode, like areas further north, at least into Arkansas and East Texas with time. So what we're talking about whenever we say go linear is whenever it's these lines. It's these lines are what we're talking about when we go linear. See, if we go back a little bit, we can see these would be what we call discrete cells, and then everything forms a line and goes linear, as we would say. Now, for the good news is we are watching a cooling trend that is getting ready to take off. Sorry, we're trying to fix this. So this cooling, these aren't working with me. So with this cooling trend we're watching next week, it's looking like it's going to start to cool off a lot more, and maybe we can put summer in the past this time. So we can see there's a lot of cold air building off to the east coast. It's still very warm over in the west, but we are watching a cooling pattern, especially for our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Temperatures start to go back to normal, and then our 8 to 14 day precip, or 6 to 10 days, can be much above average, especially next week. There's many days of rain in the forecast. But again, so mainly what we're looking at here is a nocturnal severe weather event for parts of Kansas and Oklahoma into northern Texas to maybe north central Texas. But so main threats would be large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes. Tornadoes are slowly becoming more possible with this system, but it's just all going to depend on what the environment is at the time. And if we get tornado warnings in the state, we will go live. We will be ready to cover, or I'll be ready to cover that weather